How's it going, everybody? We got a big trade tonight that just broke. I had literally just tweeted that I'm packing it in, I'm going to bed, and if news breaks, I'll make a video in the morning. I've been preparing a whole bunch of Matt Olson stuff because I figured that might be the trade that breaks tonight. And then this one comes out of left field. No pun intended. The Yankees pick up Josh Donaldson, who last year, and by the way, he's 36 years old. Last year hit 247, 26 home runs, 72 RBIs. He is a very good third baseman. Remember, he had some throwing trouble there for a while. Seems like he's rebounded a little bit from that. 827 OPS. The Yankees also get Isiah Kiner-Falefa, who is a fantastic defensive player, and he's somebody that I had talked about a number of times on this channel that I thought the Yankees might pick him up. When he went to Minnesota yesterday, might have been the day before yesterday, I figured that was it. But I did think it was an interesting move that the Twins would pick him up. Yankees also get in this deal a guy whose name I hope I'm not butchering too bad, Ben Rortved. Apparently he's worked in the past with the Yankees catching coach Tanner Swanson. And I'm just going to give him a quick look up because I don't know much about him. He hit 169 last year, 3 home runs, 229 on base percentage, 41 OPS plus. So that's the second player today that the Yankees have picked up that had a 41 OPS plus last season, which is not good. Apparently he's a good defensive catcher from what I've heard. Just in the few tweets that I've read. Again, this is not a deep analysis. I literally never heard of the guy until 5 minutes ago. Donaldson is a third baseman. He's going to take over for Urshela, who's going to Minnesota in this deal. And Gary Sanchez, at one time a big-time Yankees prospect, came up and finished second in the Rookie of the Year award, had 20 home runs. And had some big moments. The 2017 playoffs, he made that great comeback possible by driving a ball into the right center field gap. One of the great nicknames on the team, Gary, Gary, the Kraken. I'm never going to forget Gary Sanchez in 2016. That was so much fun to watch. Unfortunately, defensively, that was kind of his peak. Offensively, he kind of went down from there. I mean, he hit a lot of home runs, but, you know, he swung and missed a lot. He seemed to have trouble going to right field. The Yankees have decided now, apparently, that they want to prioritize defense because Donaldson's a good defensive third baseman. Isiah Kiner-Falefa had 10 defensive runs saved. He can play all over the infield. He's probably going to be your shortstop until Volpe comes up. You can probably cross any idea of Trevor Story or Carlos Correa off at this point. And I don't think that's a bad thing. We have no idea what kind of money these guys are taking back in the deal. We haven't seen any kind of word on the contracts. So I don't know how this is going to shake out in terms of the payroll. But I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. Again, I was getting ready to pack it in for the night, and unfortunately, Cashman made us wait until 11 o'clock on a Sunday. Lang Lu says, "I'm okay with trading Gary, but Josh Donaldson, yeah, there's going to be some interesting drama between Donaldson and Garrett Cole. You might remember that Garrett Cole, you know, with the sticky stuff and the spin rate and all that stuff, got called out by Josh Donaldson last year, and Garrett Cole proceeded to strike him out. I mean, some of that is just gamesmanship, trying to get into each other's heads, but some of it is, you know, I mean, when you have animosity with somebody, sometimes it can carry over, and it could be a little awkward. I guess we'll find out soon. Alan Landsman says, Cashman got the Twins to make that trade and then gave the Twins Sanchez and Gio. They still need a catcher, first baseman, and center field. Again, I feel like this is the first in a number of moves that the Yankees are going to make. I still think that Matt Olson is coming to the Yankees. I mean, you put him in between Judge and Stanton. I mean, that's a hell of a gauntlet. And then you back that up with Joey Gallo, who, from the pictures that I saw posted by Brian Hoke today, looks like he's put on about 15 pounds of muscle. So this is, I mean, this is definitely an interesting move. We're going to take a quick look at Ben Rortvett's analytics here. Uh, Exit velocity, 82.8 miles an hour. So, I mean, not an offensive threat at all. Minus 0.1 WAR. I don't know if the Yankees are planning for him to be the catcher or the backup catcher. Maybe this elevates Kyle Higashioka to the everyday catcher, but Kyle Higashioka doesn't necessarily knock the cover off the ball either. Duff Man says, good trade. Good trade. Douglas Rouse says, Rortvedt last season at AAA, 254, 325, 426. So, you know, pretty much average numbers, and that's at the AAA level. Nick Cannon says, I have faith the new hitting coach, Dylan Lawson, will work wonders with the hitting. I think so too. I think so too. I think we're going to see some big improvements there. Diego Figueroa says, Yankees are taking on all $50 million of Donaldson's contract. That's interesting. I don't think that you can say that Hal doesn't want to spend because he's taken on this contract. I mean, he doesn't want to spend $300 million, obviously, but we're taking on all of his money. That's an interesting move. Mateo Morano has an opposite view of the other guy. He says, bad trade. I think this is going to split up a lot of the fan base because, let's face it, Gio is one of the most likable players on the team. He's also an excellent defensive player. And Gary Sanchez at least brought some pop to the lineup. I know a lot of fans are kind of over Gary Sanchez. But, hey, look, it's just an interesting move, and I think it sets us up for a number of other moves. Phoenix Flame says Josh Donaldson is washed up, I guess. I don't think he's washed up, but he's in his mid-30s now. And generally, guys don't get better in their mid-30s in post-steroid era. Now, back in the 90s, it was a different story. The A's traded Mark McGwire when he was 35 or 36, and, you know, all he did was set records with the St. Louis Cardinals, fell off quick. Josh Donaldson last year, 3.2 wins above replacement. He played in 135 games. He had 113 hits, no triples, 26 doubles, 74 walks, struck out 114 times. So 114 times is a lot of strikeouts, but it's not a lot compared to some other guys on the Yankees. John Carrera says, get Olson and Murphy now from Oakland. Now, Sean Murphy is the catcher for Oakland. And if Oakland is unloading players, you know, I mean, I could see that happening. That's a really good thought. All we've heard all day long was Olson and Manaea as the potential package. And look, when I say when we're hearing, I mean the sleuths on Twitter that are, you know, pretending to have inside information. Every once in a while, you get a journalist that says something that you can maybe draw some conclusions from. But all I've read all day was Olson and Manaea, and that Freeman is going to the Dodgers or the Braves. And so I was all prepared for Oakland. I was prepared to wake up and do a Matt Olson video. Instead, we're getting the Twins. You can't predict baseball, Susan. Rag says Ragnarok. I get it. Like Thor Ragnarok. Worst trade he's ever seen. Nori Awesome says, what about Voit, Torres, and a couple of prospects for Olson? I think it's going to cost more than that. I am 111 says that contract is massive. Do we still get a first baseman? And it's entirely possible that the Yankees could play Josh Donaldson at first base. I think Josh Donaldson has played some first base in the past. Let's see. I feel like he has when his shoulder. Yeah, he's played in Oakland. He played a little first base. Last year in Minnesota, it was just third base and DH. So probably not moving Donaldson to first base, but it's not unheard of for guys to move to first base late in their career. I still think you're going to get Matt Olson. I think it's going to happen. But right now I look at this roster And what I see is they're emphasizing defense a little more. You got Tim LeCastro. He's a defensive first player in the outfield. He's also got a lot of flexibility in terms of playing different positions. He can play the infield a little bit too. Ton of speed. But again, he's just a role player, right? He's just a role player. Kiner-Falefa, probably going to be your starting shortstop. Going to have to shave that glorious beard. And Kiner-Falefa has an amazing arm. I mean, this guy has a cannon for an arm. You guys are going to love him. And he's not a bad hitter. I mean, he's not a great hitter, but he doesn't hit for much exit velocity. He's got not much power to speak of, but he's a good little player. And it seemed like he was always making plays when the Yankees were playing against Texas. Daily Dose of Sports with the Super Dono, appreciate that, says, what role do you think Glaber will have on the team next year? Love the move, by the way. I think Olson is coming tomorrow. Can't wait. I agree with you on Olson. I agree that he's coming.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Now, in terms of Glaber, I think they've got him penciled in at second base, but what's interesting to me is that there were reports today that Anthony Volpe was playing second base in minor league camp. Now, he's your top shortstop prospect. And scouts apparently told Buster Olney, which he mentioned on the Michael Kay show the other day, that the plan might be accelerated for Anthony Volpe, that he could impact the major league roster this year. So, if you're moving him to second base, you're considering Torres in that deal for Oakland. I mean, there's just a lot of balls in the air. We have no idea what's going to happen. I know that the Blue Jays have massively upgraded their rotation. Now they've lost Robbie Ray, but they've added Kikuchi. They've added Gaussman, however you say it. And both of those guys have potential to be really good for them next year. They've already got a really good offense. So Toronto has improved. Boston hasn't done much. They lost Ottavino today. That's a win by subtraction. Right? And the Rays are always good. They always find a way, but I think they're going to be hurt a little bit by the changes in some of the baseball rules. Like they're big on shifting, right? And if the shift is going away, they're going to have to find another way to win. This might be the Rays last year for a while that they're big time contenders because they're going to have to find a way to just get good players. SP says, who cares about falafel? Falafel. Kiner-Falefa is a good player. You guys are going to like him. Chi-Chi says his day has been ruined, or her day. I don't want to misgender you. Ronaldo says the Yankees would trade Donaldson to the A's for Olson, Murphy, and Manaea and Chapman and a few prospects and Glaber and Voit. That I don't follow. I think you lost the thread there a little bit. Let's see here. Artie says Glaber in a deal for Olson have a logjam at second now. Wow. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Matt Sheridan says, are we getting Correa, Olson, Freeman? So Meredith Morakovich said tonight that she doesn't think that that Correa is the guy. And she's talked to a lot of people within the organization that don't think he's the guy. The 2017 thing has really affected his future with the Yankees, I think. I think a lot of guys probably took that personally. Judge, who's potentially going to be the captain, potentially getting a big contract here soon, is one of those guys that's probably not too happy with Correa. And Correa is a good player. I mean, a great defensive player, but Kiner-Falefa is also a very good defensive player. What you're losing out on is the offense with Kiner-Falefa. And that makes me think that the Yankees are going to try and compensate by getting some offense in other positions. I would argue that first base, center field, probably second base are all areas where you can upgrade offensively. Donaldson is an upgrade over Gio offensively. Maybe defensively too. I haven't seen his defensive numbers in comparison to Gio yet. I'll dig into it tomorrow. But that's it's just an interesting move. I see a lot of people that hate this trade, and are upset. James Cooper says Correa is a non-starter. I tend to agree. Thomas Palmer says to him it looks like a bad deal. Frankie Baseball, my highlight guy, says If we can forgive Johnny Damon for killing us in 2004, why can't we forgive Correa? Because Johnny Damon beat us fair and square. Johnny Damon beat us on the field. He wasn't using technology and trash cans and all sorts of other shit. So I'll never forgive. I mean, look, Abraham Lincoln said, and I'm borrowing this from a video that I'm working on if the Yankees do sign Correa. Abraham Lincoln said the best way to eliminate an enemy is to make them a friend, right? And so if we did sign Correa, I would find it in my heart to forgive Correa. But as long as he's with other teams, he's just always going to be part of that 2017 Astros team, and I'm just never going to like him. Maverick72 says Falefa is here to keep the seat warm for Volpe.
Yes, I agree.
100% agree. Phoenix Flame says, do you think we try for Trevor Story? I don't think so. I think Falefa's the guy. I think Falefa's going to be your starting shortstop. He's a left-handed bat. He's a good defensive player. He's got speed. He seems to be a spark plug. I have trouble spelling the name Isiah. I'm going to have to learn that. I spelled it wrong. I had to autocorrect it like 3 or 4 times. I was making this video. Brian Daly says, Yanks will make a blockbuster with Oakland with Donaldson going. I think that's a disagree. Because why would Oakland want Donaldson now? They're rebuilding. They're not going to take on his money unless the Yankees eat all that money. Right? Because Oakland, they still got to put people in the seats. And Donaldson came up with Oakland. He was a big fan favorite there. We're stretching. I'm trying to find a way to make it, I'm jumping through some mental gymnastics here to make it work. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Martine Kalunga says Olsen would look badass in a Yankee uniform. Can't wait to see him. I saw him playing ping pong against Jolly Olive today. Mike D says, what happens to DJ's role now? DJ is probably going to go back to being that utility man that plays all over the diamond. And I think that's where he's the best anyway. Because he can play first base, he can play third base, he can play second base. He just doesn't play shortstop. And when the Yankees signed him, they told him right off the bat that he's going to play all the time. Pretty much every day, just not on opening day. And I think that's going to apply again this year. He may not play on opening day. It'll be interesting to see what happens to him. He just signed that big contract. Paul Cordova says, don't like it. Don't love it. Pamela Davis says, don't screw with Volpe's development. 100% agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Sprinting Water says, it's frustrating. We were so close. So close to what? Mission 28, full go. I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to pull off some more deals. I'm keeping an eye on Twitter. I feel like there may be more deals coming. I see the Yankees have retweeted or have tweeted a graphic welcoming Josh Donaldson, Isiah Kiner-Falefa, and Ben Rortvedt. So it's official. And they've got Kiner-Falefa in his uniform, but they still got the full beard, which is interesting. They didn't Photoshop that out. It's hard to Photoshop out a beard. It's really hard to Photoshop somebody into a Yankee uniform. You pretty much just have to change the head, right? You have to pick a body that looks similar and change the head. Felipe Leo says, do we bring Jeter in as GM? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Brian Cashman's got that job on lockdown.
Just a bit outside.
Ashlyn, big supporter of the channel, says, I'm just upset about Gio. Let's get a round of applause for Gio Urshela. Did a real nice job with the Yankees. Came from out of nowhere. And let's get a round of applause for this man, the Kraken, Gary Sanchez. I'm going to miss that home run swing. Not the greatest catcher in the world, but I'm going to miss that home run swing. Darth Wacko says, Donaldson is a great hitter, but lacks in defense. I always thought he was a good defensive player. I know he had some arm troubles a couple of years ago that led to him, not being able to make that throw across the diamond. I think he had to miss a lot of time, and that affected his defensive numbers. But I always thought he had good range. He's got good hands. He's been playing the position a long time. And third base is a spot where you can age because you don't need a ton of range. You just need to be quick and have quick reflexes. And I've always thought he's had that. Jesus, or I'm sorry, I'm butchering this name. Yozazius Maceo says, about Ronald Guzman news, hope the Yankees win 80 games this year. Um, Yikes. First of all, thanks for the dono. So this guy he's mentioning, Ronald Guzman, he's an outfielder, first baseman. They signed him to a minor league deal. The Tim LeCastro deal was interesting today. The Red Sox cut him. He's not a guy that is going to blow you away with his physical tools, but he's a spark plug. And that's something the Yankees lacked last year. Hot Sugar says this deal does make any sense. I think Hot Sugar means doesn't make any sense. I think they tried to dump Sanchez and had to throw in Gio for the deal to go through. To me, it doesn't make much sense from the Twins' perspective. I mean, what do the Twins get out of this? You know, I mean, they might be able to take their time and spin off Gary Sanchez if Gary Sanchez has a good year. Darth Wacka says, who the hell is the catcher? We went over that. He's an up-and-comer. They must like something about him. The scouts must like something about him. Let's see here. Frankie Baseball said, I want to see Correa sign with the Yankees just so we can see your Abe Lincoln video. Honestly, it just opens up with a fake tweet from Abe Lincoln with that quote. It was just a little joke that I put in there. I'm kind of building it out, and I couldn't finish it off until like the numbers come through. So obviously it may never get finished now. Unfortunately, as a content creator, and I make a lot of videos. I mean, I make multiple videos a day. A lot of what you do ends up on the cutting room floor, right? The proverbial cutting room floor. This, that's an old saying. Hey, my cat wants to join me. Come here, Joba. Come on. This is Joba after Joba Chamberlain. I named him before Joba, or before I knew Joba was pronounced Jabba. Come here, buddy. Come say hi. What do you think of the trade? What do you? He's not impressed with Ben Nortvat, or whatever his name is. All right, good night, cat. All right, let's get some more of your reactions here. Red M91 says, I'm able to forget but not forgive Correa. That's fair. That's fair. I just knocked over my recycling bin with my feet. But hey, at least I recycle. Martin, I'm not going to say that name, says, you think Austin Wells gets called up? First of all, Austin Wells has a great mustache. And he posted some pictures on Instagram today. My cat's getting ticked off and he's chewing on stuff. I guess he wants to be on camera. So Austin Wells' dad looks just like a game show host. I feel like he should be hosting Family Feud or whatever that game was with the squares, Hollywood Squares. He has that game show host vibe to him. I've always thought from watching him that Austin Wells has a great swing, but I've heard doubts about his throwing arm. Let's see. Midnight says, if we sign Correa to a 10-year deal, the moment he hits a 3-run double to beat Boston, we'll all be forgiven. You're not wrong. I mean, you seem to understand Yankees fans. It's what have you done for me lately? It seems to be and that's fair. This is a sport where you have to produce and a city where you have to produce. All right, so we have the first quote. Isiah Kiner-Falefa has retweeted Brian Hoke. Actually, no, he's retweeted the Yankees and Brian Hoke has retweeted. I'm bad at the internet, folks. I'm bad at the internet. And he says, always wanted to be like number 2. 3 exclamation points. 3 exclamation points is excitement. He just tweeted about the Twins, about joining the Twins the other day. Let's see how many exclamation points he had in that one. Let's see here. Back in the 6 hole where I belong, 3 exclamation points. LFG at Twins. It sounds like he's equally excited. He's equally excited to be a Twin or a Yankee. I think he's just excited to be a Major League Baseball player. I would be too. Let's hear it for Isiah Kiner-Falefa. All right, so Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez both worked out at the Yankees facility today. And Hokie has posted some pictures of them on their final day, at least in this phase of their career as a Yankee. Gio Urshela was a guy, and Twins fans are going to love Gio. He's got all the energy in the world, and it hurt me so much to take down his Yankees background on his player video there. He's a guy who he never hit much before he came to the Yankees, but he was always a good, sharp defensive player. And he just kind of flipped a switch with the Yankees. He started finishing his swing more. He started using right field more. He always struck me as kind of a clutch player. He hit that grand slam against the Indians during the COVID wild card series. It's gonna be sad to see him go. Sad to see him go. Gary Sanchez, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful hitters in the game today. He hit that 484-foot home run against San Francisco a couple of years ago. And when you hang one and he bangs it, he can send it a long, long way. But I think that Gary Sanchez gets a little bit too caught up in trying to pull the ball. And that causes him to miss the sliders in the dirt. And your ace of your staff, Garrett Cole, doesn't like to throw to him and has never liked to throw to him. And that's a problem. So the Yankees are going to need to get some kind of a catcher to take over. They might go with Higgy, and this guy Rortvet might be the AAA backup. I'm liking whoever it was that proposed the idea of getting Sean Murphy from the from the Oakland A's as part of the Matt Olson deal. How would you guys like a deal for Matt Olson, Sean Manaea, and Sean Murphy? Couple of Seans in there. Surprised they're not going to Boston. That's just a little shot over the bow to my friends in Boston. Little shot over the bow. USA Health Insurance Reform, I guess, says teammates say Gary Sanchez is the most powerful hitter when he hits bombs. I think Giancarlo Stanton would have something to say about that. Giancarlo hits him about 470 when he gets him, when he gets into one. We've seen a couple of 490s or so from Judge. I don't think we've seen farther than 484 from Gary Sanchez. I'm going to miss Gary. I mean, I want to hear your favorite Gary Sanchez moments in the chat or read them. Doesn't make sense to hear them because I'm reading them. Tony Stark's nephew says, how can you guys think this is bad? Gary has lost the Yankees so many games because of him. I think he means because of his defense. Yeah, look, I was talking about this with my buddy Pat from the 643 TP from Unhinged Yankees too. Last year, before the season, when we were talking about whether or not Gary Sanchez should be on the team anymore. And all the defensive metrics were saying at that time that, Gary Sanchez was, about a league average defender, maybe slightly above, maybe even better. And we just kind of decided in that conversation that we don't trust those metrics because every time I turned on the game, it seemed like a ball was getting by him with a runner on third. And I hate to trash Gary Sanchez. I don't want to trash anybody. I'm kind of known here for my rants, and I regret that that's happened because I want to be known for my production value and for, my overall love of the game. But Gary Sanchez pissed me off on a number of occasions, and I had to really tear into him. And when I did my 5 Yankees who won't be back next year, one of the guys that I included was Gary Sanchez, and we talked all winter that, he probably was going to come back because the Yankees decided to tender him a contract. And now the fact that they were able to unload him means that we're going to see something. We're going to see somebody else at catcher. John Carrera says, that was me with the Murphy deal. Cheers to you. Lori C says 1,000 in the chat. Smash that like. Appreciate that, Lori. Lori is our mod here. She is the mod of the century. SP says, we have no money left. I think you're underestimating how much the Yankees are willing to spend. They reset the luxury tax thing last year. Joba, stop chewing on my cord here, buddy. Come on. And uh, it's an it's obviously a lot to take on 50 million for a guy who's 36 years old, but there's no guarantee that he's going to even stay on the Yankees, right? There's no guarantee. I mean, when Kiner-Falefa got traded yesterday, we all thought he was going to be the Twins shortstop, and now he gets moved right away. I think he will be the third baseman, but it's just an interesting move. But again, there's no guarantees either way. Drugi76 says Cashman is the worst. Well, uh, I don't know about the worst, but I feel like the team has more reassembly than they should for a team that, or more reassembly necessary for a team with their kind of resources. I mean, they got last year they had so many guys playing out of position. You had an entirely right-handed lineup in a stadium that's built for lefties, and then you go get another right-handed bat. At least Kiner-Falefa hits left-handed. So I would love to see. A deal where they brought in Matt Olson, just because the left-handed power is something that they need. And people, crack on him for not hitting for a high average. He hit 271 last year, which isn't bad. That would have been like top 3 or top 4 on the Yankees. And with the shift going away next year, that's going to help guys out by anywhere from 5 to 20 points. You'll see guys that are hitting 280 hit 300. Guys who are hitting 270 hit 290. That makes a big deal. It creates more action in the game. He's a guy who hits the ball really hard. And if he's pulling it, and the Yankees are going to go back to more lefties now that shift is being banned, because you can just have guys creep up on the plate and try and pull the ball. And if you get it in the air, it's gone. I mean, that's just how it's gonna go. That's the strategy for Yankee Stadium. It has to be, if you can't do the shift. Abel Aquino says Kiner-Falefa is one of the best defensive infielders in the bigs, only 26-2. Yeah, he played a little third base. He's even caught in the past. I believe he came up as a catcher and they moved him to third base. And then last year they needed him at shortstop and he did great. And that's why he's going to be the Yankee shortstop. Cyrus Nabor says, I say they're full in on Freeman now. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Freddie Freeman. I still think that he's going to end up back in Atlanta. I just, when you lead a team to the World Series, I mean, he's a fan favorite. He'll never buy a drink, never buy a dinner in his whole life in Atlanta. And right now he's pushing to get as much money as he can. And actually his agents are probably doing it. And I don't blame him. This is his career. This is his family. As Roger Clemens said, when he said he didn't play to get into the Hall of Fame, but he played to make a generational difference in the lives of his family financially. And, an extra $10 million. Think if you had an uncle that had $10 million, right? You'd be rooting for them to die. I mean, maybe not your own, but maybe somebody that, a distant cousin had 10 million. Now, Freeman's going to have 150 million, it can affect entire generations of his family, of his in-laws. I mean, I don't blame him for going for every dollar. I really don't. Day Trippy says, why we get rid of Gio? I mean, they say that a good baseball trade should hurt both sides. And honestly, I'm not devastated about losing Gio or Gary Sanchez. I think that Donaldson's going to do a nice job at third base. And I think that Gary Sanchez, while a fun hitter to watch on occasion, I think it's addition by subtraction. I really do. I think they're going to get somebody better to play behind the dish. And the fact that they made this deal right now suggests to me that they have somebody else lined up at that catcher position. Daily Dose of Sports says, Yankees see Rizzo as the realistic good first base option now. We'll try to make that work. I don't believe a word out of John Heyman's mouth. I mean, he's or off of his Twitter fingers. He's wrong more than he's right. Kyman says, favorite Gary moment is Astros Game 4 driving in Didi. Nicholas says, when Gary said, if I hit a home run to send my team to the World Series, they can rip off my pants. He was obviously joking. He's talking about when Altuve said he wouldn't rip off his shirt, after hitting the pennant-winning home run because of a tattoo. And then last year he took off his shirt after a walk-off, and we didn't see any tattoo. I still think he was wearing a buzzer. Ephraim Levi says, it sucks that Gio is gone, with 3 cry emojis. Well, I mean, sometimes in life, we have to say goodbye, and today's one of those days. Nelson Cruz has signed with the Nationals via John Heyman. I'm just going to go ahead and check some of these. So, nothing new on the Yankees. I'm not seeing the thing for Nelson Cruz, but, with the DH coming to the National League, it does make sense to add a big power hitter like Nelson Cruz. All Nelson Cruz does is just mash baseballs. He was put on this earth for one reason, to mash baseballs. Let's see. John P. says Dave Kingman was better than Gary Sanchez. It was interesting, like for most of the 2022 or 2021 season, the entire league was putting up Dave Kingman numbers. Huge power, a lot of strikeouts. Adam Knapp says this puts us over the tax. Yeah, I think the Yankees are going to go way over the tax this year. You got some money coming off the books next year, and I still don't think it's. I don't think the Yankees are done. I think there's a chance that they could move some more salary. I don't think it's out of the question that Aroldis Chapman gets moved with 1 year left on his contract. A lot of teams want relief pitching. The relief pitching market has been hot from what we've heard. Kelly Jansen is still out there. A lot of teams going after him. Teams that miss out on him are going to want a closer. And I think Jonathan Loaizaga could step right into that role. I think Steven Ridings could be a big-time reliever for the Yankees next year. I think Clay Holmes is going to have a big year. I think the Yankees are shifting towards getting more sinker ballers and less guys who just throw pure octane. Holmes is a sinker baller. Michael King is a sinker baller. It's interesting to see what the Yankees are doing. Go ahead and hit that like button. We got 217 likes. We got 1,051 in the chat. Thanks to everybody who's showing support tonight. Michael D with the super chat. Appreciate it. You can add a message and I will read it most of the time. Erwin Acosta says Falefa is a catcher, right? Falefa's interesting. He can play all over the diamond. He can catch. He can play third base, and he's going to be the Yankees shortstop, it looks like. USA Health Insurance Reform says Gary Sanchez was done as a Yankee as soon as he made that poor tag on the helmet at home on the perfect throw. God, I can't think of a more frustrating moment during the season than that. That was absolutely atrocious. Throw beat him by 15 feet, and he and he didn't make the play. That was rough. All right, guys, I'm going to pack it in for tonight. Hopefully we get more moves tomorrow. I thank everybody for joining, and I will see you when the Yankees have some more news. Let's give a nice round of applause to former Yankees, Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela. And a very hearty welcome to the newest Yankees, Isiah Kiner-Falefa and Garrett Cole's best friend, Josh Donaldson. I will see you guys on the flip side.